All right, let's get right into it. For a while now, we've seen AI as this incredible tool that basically waits for us to tell it what to do. But what happens when that tool starts thinking for itself? When it picks itself up and just starts working? Well, that's the new world of agentic AI. And yeah, it's bringing some amazing power, but also a really urgent need for a whole new set of rules.
So, what even is an AI agent? Well, think of it as a whole new class of AI, and its defining feature is autonomy, a high degree of it. This means it's not just sitting there waiting to answer your questions. No, it can operate, it can adapt to new situations, all by itself. You don't have to hold its hand and feed it prompts for every single tiny step.
And this right here is a massive shift. The AI we're mostly used to, the traditional large language models, they're reactive. You give them a prompt, they spit back a response. Simple. But agentic AI, it's proactive. You give it a high-level goal, like organize my sales data, and it figures out all the steps to actually get there. It's kind of like the difference between a really smart calculator and a self-driving car, but for software tasks. And the stuff these agents can do, it's seriously powerful. We're talking about systems that can write their own code, completely reconfigure other systems, and even act as a digital go-between for different apps, shuttling data back and forth to get a complex job done. The potential for innovation here is just staggering. But, with that kind of power comes some serious new challenges. And that brings us to the flip side of all this autonomy. Because when you've got a system this powerful, running around without direct human supervision, you create a huge new security blind spot. It's a kind of risk that our old-school security measures were just never, ever designed to handle. Let's just break these risks down for a second. With no human in the loop, an agent could, either by accident or if it gets tricked, write and run code that has massive security flaws. It could mess with a critical systems configuration and accidentally open a backdoor for hackers. And maybe the scariest part, as experts are pointing out, is that this tech could be used to automate cyber attacks on a scale we've just never seen. Our old security tools, they simply can't keep up with that. Which, of course, leads us to the billion-dollar question. As we all rush to plug these amazing agents into our businesses, into our daily lives, how do we actually build the guardrails? How do we make sure they work for us and not against us? Well, the good news is we're not trying to figure this out all on our own. This is where the Open Worldwide Application Security Project, you probably know them as OWASP, steps onto the scene. These are the folks who've been the go-to authority on software security for years, and now they're tackling this new frontier head-on. And this quote from OWASP just says it all, doesn't it? They're putting it out there in plain English. The old playbook, the one we used for traditional application security, or AppSec, it's just not gonna cut it anymore. The very nature of these autonomous, tool-using agents means we need a totally new game plan. So what did OWASP do? They dropped a plan. A concrete one. They just published the first version of their Securing Agentic Applications Guide, and it's a practical open-source handbook for the people in the trenches, the developers and defenders actually building this stuff. This is the roadmap everyone's been waiting for. So what's actually in this guide? Well, it's not some magic bullet or a single piece of software. Instead, what OWASP has laid out is this really comprehensive 8-point strategy. And it covers the entire life cycle of an AI agent. We're talking from the moment it's just an idea on a whiteboard all the way to deployment and everything that comes after. And here they are, those 8 focus areas. You can just see how thorough this is. It covers everything. The high-level architecture, the initial design, the security of its supply chain, how you test it, deploy it, and then how you harden it once it's actually live. Now, we're not going to walk through all 8, but let's just zoom in on a couple of really key ones. First up, supply chain security. This one is absolutely non-negotiable. See, an AI agent needs to connect to other tools and pull in data to do its job. OWASP is saying we have to treat that entire supply chain with extreme caution.
That means scanning all the third-party code it uses for vulnerabilities and, this is so important, giving it the absolute minimum permissions it needs to work. You can't just hand over the keys to the entire kingdom.
Okay, the second one we'll spotlight is runtime hardening. This is all about what you do when the agent is live and doing its thing. It boils down to two things: watching what it's doing in real time and using techniques like sandboxing. A sandbox is basically a secure, locked-down play area. The agent can run in there and do its work, but it can't touch or mess with the wider system. It's a way to contain any potential chaos.
So what this really shows us is that security isn't just some checklist you complete and then you're done. No, it's a constant cycle. You start with a secure design from the get-go. Then you actually try to break it yourself with red teaming, where you hire ethical hackers to find the flaws before the bad guys do. And finally, you deploy it into that hardened, monitored environment. And then you'll learn from that, and the whole cycle just starts right over again.
All right, so let's pull back from the nitty-gritty for a second and just look at the big picture here. What does all of this really mean for us? It means we're finally moving past a state of just, abstract fear about AI risk and into a place where we have a concrete, actionable plan to actually manage it.
And if there is one thing you take away from this explainer, let it be this: security cannot be an afterthought anymore. With technology this powerful, this autonomous, you absolutely have to build security into its DNA from day one. Trying to bolt it on later, after it's already built, that's just a recipe for disaster. It'll be way too late.
And that, right there, is the real value of what OWASP has put together. This isn't about stopping innovation or slowing things down. It's the exact opposite. It's about enabling it. This guide is the first real, open, and collaborative roadmap that gives developers the tools they need to build incredible things with Agentic AI, and to do it safely and responsibly.
But all of this does lead to one last really fascinating question I want to leave you with. As these agents get smarter and more autonomous, is it even possible to build a truly secure system? Or with a technology that can literally learn and adapt on its own, are we just signing up for a permanent race between offense and defense, forever trying to stay just one single step ahead? It's a big question, and I think it's one we're all going to be answering together.